All right, so today's video is actually going to be really interesting because it has to do with a couple things that I had to experience to learn this truth, and that is that you should avoid being trapped by your ambitions. You should try not to get trapped by them because, when things are going well, you kind of think that it's you. It's not like the forces are for you. So you kind of just think, oh, I'm a genius. I'm the smart one. This is why things are going so well. Sometimes it's just you're just in the right part of the cycle. Sometimes you just got really lucky. And I'm gonna tell you this because 2 years ago I decided to start like trading in the market, and this is where I finally learned about the market. And it was in January 2020, way before like everyone thought it was kind of cool, way before the pandemic. It literally when the pandemic started, that's when I actually started like actively trading. But before that, I was kind of interested in it, and it wasn't as active as before. Like back then, like Wall Street Bets was literally like some crazy people. It was like a very like nerdy club, under 1 million followers in that subreddit back then, right? And when the pandemic started, I literally we're gonna be home all day doing nothing, so I decided to start essentially actively trading, and I was really good at it. I was like, I'm sure it was just luck and the fact that I literally always like backed to the extreme, so I had a lot of luck in my side. But I remember I turned $4,000 like at January. By March, I had turned that $4,000 into like 26K. I literally quintupled my money in 3 months, guys. It was absolutely insane. And my logic was, oh, I'm a genius, man. I'm so smart. I know what I'm doing, because I actually had like a strategy back then. I would literally wait for extremes to be hit on like charts and all this. And if the chart went way down, I would bet the plunge protection team would kick in, and then I would like buy it up. And if it went way up, then I would short it because this is a 2% move in a day. That's too much, and it would go down, which is pretty crazy, right? Obviously my luck lasted until like March. After that, I kind of I was betting it for it to go down, and it kept going up and up and up, and then I basically sided with the market, and it went well for me. I mean, I turned in between 2020 and 2021, I turned a portfolio from $4,000 all the way to 46. That is in 2 years, which it's pretty good, In 2020, 2021, it's 4,000 to 42. I thought I was actually like really smart in the market, and I didn't really factor in that maybe it was just a bull cycle, and I'm not that smart. I didn't know back then, right? But here's the thing, though. I also had a lot of like good stuff happen to me. Like I started working into mining rigs, and that was kind of like the predecessor to the dividend trifecta strategy, which I talked in the channel. So essentially I would build a mining rig, and that mining rig back then was actually pretty profitable. It would make a lot of money, and that money I would reinvest it into the stock market instead of like holding it. But everything went well from 2020 to 2021. And then around September of 2021, that's when my good luck started to turn around, and things started to become kind of bad. And I should have done this. Obviously, hindsight 2020, right? But in September 2020, I educated myself in charts, and I knew that I was onto something, but I obviously didn't listen to it because I thought, well, my goal is to hit 100K. That was my big milestone, is 100K in the trading account, right? And in the pursuit of that, I basically went into high growth stocks, which at September they were low, but they weren't that low, and I thought it were kind of cheap, right? And I bought a bunch of like high value, high growth strategy companies. And I didn't know about I didn't have like a really long-term mindset. I had like a short-term, so I was like, oh yeah, if this only hits like 10%, I'll buy, I'll sell it. But I essentially fell in love with the stock, and I was like, whoa, this company is actually kind of cool. So I started holding them, and I started dollar cost averaging into them all the way down. In a nutshell, what happened is my portfolio went from 46K to I got shaken out in April because I got margin called in April of 2022. And to this day, in me, with everything that has happened and all that, my portfolio right now is down about 68%. Man, that hurts. And here's the funny thing, like at the end of the 2021, right? I was with family and all that. We were like on vacation and all that. I was thinking of the strategy that I actually trying to implement right now, and that is that I wanted, since the mining was starting to fade out, I wanted to turn my portfolio from a growth portfolio, and I had like 36K. I could have done it. I could have actually done that, and turn it from 36K to a high dividend portfolio using stocks like QYLD and JEPI, which, dividend trifecta phase one, right? It's high dividend, and then I exchange it from high dividend to high growth and dividend or value stocks. Companies that pay you dividends to hold them. But the first phase is high dividend, of course, because I wanted income so I could keep doing the same thing I did in the pandemic, which I would get that dividend payout and then trade it in options and hopefully get a big swing. But in the pursuit of something, like I had an idea, and this was a bad idea back then, right? I was like, well, I've done it before, right? I can turn 36K into 100K. That was my goal. That was my ambition at the time. I wanted 100K because if I got 100K, I would essentially be able to make my portfolio into high dividends, and that would be $1,000 a month. That was my goal. Like I could have taken the $350 a month in dividends, but no, I wanted 1,000 because if I had 1,000, everything would be so much better, right? And that's when I messed up. In the ambition of me trying to get that $1,000 a month dividend, right? I decided to continue my, now with hindsight 2020, my bad strategy of holding high growth. And I did the calculations and everything. Like I put it in one of these like stock trading simulators, right? And I did, okay, if this hits this price target and if all these hit their price targets and I keep adding at certain points, I'll get to 100K by my estimate was September of 2022. So right now we're in November. If you're watching this video, right now I'm recording in November 2022. And the portfolio, after canceling this lease and buying the van and all that, I literally am nowhere near where I started at the start of the year, I'm way off. And I'll likely be way off for probably till the end of 2023. And, it sucks. I could have a $300 a month dividend trifecta and that would have been very nice to have right now, Maybe I wouldn't have to give away so much of my stuff, right? But here's the thing, though. In that ambition of 1,000, I sacrificed the 300 that I have, and now I essentially only have, if I were to go with dividend trifecta right now, like put it high dividends, I would only have maybe $90, $110. That's quite a drastic drop, right? It's just not the same. And yeah, another way of that would be 2020 when the shortage of graphics cards was happening. I was buying mining rigs and I was literally using credit, and it actually worked because I was making so much money back then, so I didn't care, right? And I built this like 2 double mining rig. I had like 12 GPUs. I was making closer to 20 to 30 bucks a day, guys. It was pretty good, 30 bucks a day. I was so happy about that. And obviously, I expanded and then I used credit, and then during 2021, obviously the market was starting to give signs that, hey, we kind of don't like miners, and I didn't care about time because I was making it went from 30 to 15 bucks. But I was like, okay, if I just buy one more GPU, 6 GPU, I'll get back to 20. So I kept putting money into something that was clearly going down. I tried to ignore it, and by the end of the 2021, I already was starting to give up on that, and that's when I decided to do the dividend trifecta strategy. So I liquidated my mining rig, and right now, as you can see, it's just 1 GPU, but back then it was actually 3 GPU units full of 6 GPUs, so it was pretty good. I had to liquidate it, and I ended up with $2,000-$3,000 of debt, which I paid off with my money that should have gone to dividends. But anyway, that's just 2 examples of somebody being trapped by their ambitions. One with the stock market, one with the mining rig. And recently, you guys saw, if you follow the channel, the story about me being kicked out of my parents' house and sleeping in a car. Back then, when I was sleeping in the car, I didn't have a comfortable place to sleep. I didn't really like going to Airbnbs because you don't know what the heck those Airbnbs are doing, if they have cameras or anything, or who stay there if they clean the beds or anyway. So I had a bunch of worries about it, and my goal back then was just to have a place for myself. If I have a place for myself, I will be able to essentially work on the YouTube videos, right? I will have my computer. I will have my computer. I was actually lifting the computer, but anyway, I have my computer and I would have a recording studio, right? That was my goal at the time. And to get that goal, what I did is I literally just, the first apartment that I could get approved for, I literally just gave the down payment. I said, okay, here you go. 2 months of rent, blah, blah, blah. This is the apartment, right? I got it as fast as I can, right? And in doing that, I essentially trapped myself in a trap where I had to go to work just to afford the apartment. and I had to go to work. Usually before I only had to work like maybe 2-3 days a week. Now I have to work 5 days a week, 6 maybe if you want to have more for the portfolio. And I had to go to work. If I didn't go to work, the apartment couldn't get paid, and I just couldn't, be homeless again. I trapped myself in having to go to a job that, although it was a good job and it was a very comfortable life, like this is a nice life, guys, and I made just enough money to stay in this life, but I wasn't happy, and my goal in reality is to just have a place to record and just have a place I can sleep in and have a place that I can just use as a studio. And all those things can be done if I just look at the big picture and I say, okay, this life is too much. Just take it down, and then I go into a more frugal life. And what did I do? I bought a van. I literally bought a van, and I said, okay, here you go. Let's just take every knowledge that we have from the side gigs, every knowledge that I have from living in a car, every knowledge that I have from my dad, which is a truck driver. Well, he was a truck driver, so I saw how shitty like living on the road is. So I already have experience with that, and I'm gonna turn it all into something that I actually can do that's profitable, that I will be able to dollar cost average into the market and get back to that 100K dividend trifecta goal. So. Essentially what I'm telling you guys is that in the ambition that I had, I trapped myself multiple times. I trapped myself in the apartment. I trapped myself in the high growth stocks. I trapped myself in the mining rig. And, all these things, they're all mistakes. And the funny thing is I got all of them. I got the apartment. I got the mining rig how I wanted it. I got the portfolio. I could have had a smaller portfolio, of course, but, I wanted the $1,000 a month dividend. And, those were all time bombs, essentially. And guys, this is not just a me thing. Like, there are plenty of time bombs people fall for in the pursuit of their ambitions. I've actually been kind of lucky that I literally just had a lot of bad luck with, my business ideas. But some people that do this, they do it because of comfort. They want comfort in their misery. And I'm going to make a video on that in the future, but things like, let's say you want to build a YouTube channel and you don't have any subs or anything, and you say, I need a computer. I need a computer to make the videos, or I need a laptop, or everything. Instead of going out and making the money first, like you can do it with side gigs and stuff like that, or just maybe ask a family, hey, can you buy me a $200 computer instead of a $100 computer? You can go on eBay and find computers for $300, guys. But anyway, if you're like most people, you would probably go out into an Apple store and buy a MacBook because you need a MacBook, right? And you need a $1,000 computer because why not, right? So you go out and you get the computer. You don't have the money, so you go and put it on a credit card, and that computer is now costing you maybe $60 a month, and you don't want to pay the computer off, because you don't have the money, right? So what you do? Well, you now pay the $60 minimum, but now you're a slave to the credit card. You're a slave to that computer credit card that you betting on that. I'm gonna be a successful YouTuber, and then you realize, I don't even know how to make YouTube videos. You don't have any knowledge. You have a bunch of flaws. You know how to edit and stuff like that, and now you have that computer. And that's just a computer, guys. I know people that decide to make a full studio, people that do like why did I did in a much bigger scale, and instead of just buying 2 mining rig units, they actually build a warehouse, and I'm like, oh my god, this is on credit. Oh man, So be careful with the time bumps. I actually had a friend that did this mistake, which, I know it's very common for people that like cars, and I'm about to do a car rant, so I'm sorry if you're a car guy. But, I had a friend that this was like in 2021, like he had a job he didn't like. But he said that maybe if I get a bunch of things that I want, I'll be fine, Maybe I'll be able to tolerate the job. I wasn't working with him, by the way, so I don't know about that. But essentially what he did is he bought a car. And if you know the thumbnail that I use a bunch of Teslas and stuff like that. He bought a Tesla. And this is like an indirect, like some sucker punch for him. But he's a good friend of mine, so he watches the videos and stuff like that. But, he bought a Tesla, and it was a cheap Tesla. It actually appreciated when he owned it, which is kind of crazy. But he bought a Tesla in order to, have a good thing from his job. He didn't make that much. He only made $14-15 an hour, but he could afford a Tesla. He lived with his parents, so he could afford the $657 a month car payment. He could. So he bought the Tesla, and he was very happy that he had a Tesla. I'll be honest, I was jealous he had a Tesla because I want a Tesla. But he became a slave to the car because now he has to go to work 2-3 days a week just to pay the car. I mean, $657 ain't that much, but imagine somebody like me that gets a a car. I paid off my car, thank God. Now I have the cargo van, but that's a different story. Since I'll combine it in rent and car, so, and it's a tax deductible from the side gigs. But you know what I'm trying to say is that, you know, what if he had like rent? What if he had you know, credit card bills that he didn't pay off? What if he had a bunch of momentum of continuous time bombs, like a bunch of credit cards? Maybe he financed vacations, maybe he financed equipment or a career he wanted to do and never completed it. You know, it can get really bad, guys. So don't be trapped by your ambitions. Be very careful when you do that. If you get trapped by an ambition and you're stuck, you gotta do something absolutely crazy. You gotta smash it. You gotta take everything in that life and just sell it, get rid of it, and destroy it and start over. Completely start over. Minimize all your expenses. You know, zero. If you're able to do something like I did and, you know, buy a cargo van, pay everything off, buy a cargo van, and just minimize and just live like a homeless person for a year or two and save up as much money as you can, I would go for that. If you have to go back to parents and, you know, they actually care about you and they want you to be around, and, you know, take that time and just pay off any student debts, pay off any debts you have, you know, just make as much money as you can and just focus on escaping that misery that you put yourself in. So don't be trapped by the ambitions, guys. Worst case scenario, you might have to like actually completely destroy everything and just not pay it, and then you'll have a bunch of calls and stuff like that. But that's a horror story that, man, that puts horror movies to shame, man. You never want to be in a situation where you're paying for a used car and the car's broken down, or, you know, you have like debt up your eyeballs and you have like $3,000 in debt and you only make $3,000 a month. That's like, oh man, that's I can't breathe, man. But you guys, just want to make sure video on this. Hopefully it helped you out. Just be careful that, you know, whatever it is that you want, you got to be clear. Is it an ambition that's going to help me towards my goal? Or is it a desire that's going to take time away from my goal? Those two are very important, and you got to be able to differentiate them and know which one is which. So be careful out there, guys. This world will try to distract you from your goal, and they'll try to keep you as far away as possible, trying to make you a wage slave, trying to make you, you know, own things you don't even need, you know, from people that have way more money than you. So be careful out there, guys. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.